Hey everyone, welcome to an episode of 10,000 Fledges. And today we've got Ryan and Meg as usual. How you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm doing
All
good.
right. So this is a show where we spend 10 minutes talking about a topic related to building 10,000 Fledges. And you all bring the topic. So when you're ready, I'll flip our magic timer and we'll go.
Beautiful.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Jerry.
Yeah.
So we've heard you mention biomimicry many times in the past. And so kind of have a twofold question. One, how does that show up in your day-to-day operating the Fledge? And how do you use biomimicry to guide your decisions or actions?
Okay, so I'm going to flip the timer. So let me start with defining biomimicry real quick for anyone that might not know what it is. And if you just dissect the word a little bit, you mimic biology, you mimic the biosphere, you mimic what nature does. So what we do, or what we try to do, is ask ourselves, what would nature do in this situation? So on a really big scale, I always think about a pond and how there's not nets over the pond and things fall into that pond all of the time. And sometimes it thrives, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it needs nurturing, but we don't put a net on it. So we don't put barriers at the Fledge, or at least not ones we can help. And we let anything and everything, everyone and every idea fall into this pond to see what it will do without trying to, filter everything out. So I think when I make decisions, I'm always looking, if it's a big and small decisions, I think, what would nature do to get to this mission, or what would nature do in this situation? And diversity is always the one that is prominent on my mind, and that is, nature won't filter out. It will deal the hand that it's dealt. It will thrive when there's biodiversity. It will not thrive when there's not diversity. So when you look at a nice rich pond and it has fish and frogs and bugs and plants and moss and probably a million things that we don't even see, that pond is thriving. But when you look at the kind of stagnant water that, there's three plants that all look the same, there's, a bunch of mosquitoes, that pond might not be thriving. So, I think that's part of it. And as I kind of look around the Fledge, in nature, the species that survive the longest are, often people think it's the biggest one or the fastest one or the slowest one or the smallest one. But in reality, in mature ecosystems, the species that survive the most are the species, or the longest are the species who have the most symbiotic relationships. And one of the best things at the Fledge that illustrates that is the old baptismal being turned into a fish pond that's hooked up to the grow room in the back, where we kind of have that sort of aquaponics. We don't eat the fish, but the fish feed the plants give oxygen to the fish, and there's a cycle of a symbiotic relationship there. And yeah, I know that's nature, but it really, when we talk about, cancel culture, for example, we don't like cancel culture. We don't think that's a healing methodology. We don't think that it's fair. We don't know all of the story of all of the things. And it's much better to, at least in my opinion, help somebody through whatever is making them angry, whatever is making them do the stuff that they do that people want to cancel them for. And so, when I look at that, when I look at maybe someone who gets upset with the Fledge and how to handle it, I always go with, what would nature do? And nature would try to resolve it. It wouldn't, necessarily just kill or cancel. It would work on its environment. The environment would change. It would adapt. So I don't know if let me pause for a second and see if there's a wing that we should go to.
That's amazing, because I was just thinking about your style of leadership, and you say primus inter pares often, and how when birds are in flight, there's one bird that's taking the lead, but then they rotate, they switch off on who's leading at any particular time. And so I've been thinking about that a lot in terms of the way that I want to lead in my life and business. So maybe if you want to riff on that at all.
Yeah, I think that, that title came from exactly what you said. People do use it in board meetings and different types of, councils or whatever. And, it does mean first among equals. And sometimes I get tired, or sometimes, we're doing therapy Thursday. I'm not the leader of that. I scooch over and I let somebody else, whether it's Erica or you or whomever, lead that. And they're the primus inter pares, because I can't always, that lead bird has to fall back and rest, and has to fall back and let somebody else lead, and, get that strength, because it also strengthens the herd, right? We're building leaders. So I'm not trying to build employees. I'm not trying to build, the best students that ever show up in the right, whatever. I'm trying to build leaders, and we're trying to build leaders, because those leaders will take us further. And I just, I don't see another way to lead than by that. I mean, I guess I could be the head of the lion pack and lay around and let all the other people go out and hunt, and I come and take my piece first. I mean, I guess some parts of nature do that, but I don't see us as being the dominant species in the plains here. We're kind of small and kind of have to adapt. So I'd rather be like the birds and lead that way than like a lion that ultimately is just like a dictator that, I don't want to fight with everybody to keep my position. I don't want to look, over my shoulder all the time to feel like I'm the boss. Being the boss is not the good thing about entrepreneurialism. It's the worst thing of entrepreneurialism. The best thing is to create and to thrive and to see everybody around us thriving. Maybe the Lion King is a great example. When they went in and they killed everything, when whoever, I can't remember their names, so all the little kids are going to hate me. But, everything went to shit, basically, when Scar took over, because he wasn't managing that diversity. And it came back when Simba got back in, because he managed that diversity. So maybe that's a good movie to watch to kind of know what we're talking about. But also 10,000 Fledges, take a spider plant. A spider plant's trying to propagate so it can keep the species alive, and it's not poisoning everything around it while it's doing it. So with you guys in Madison and talking about the virtual Madison and hopefully expanding into what the appropriate expansion is. And then just on 99 Problems on Friday, yesterday, we had two people pitch from Flint, and we got into a discussion about potentially a Fledge in Flint. So they hopefully will be joining us soon on 10,000 Fledges. And then I had two phone calls yesterday with people from Grand Rapids and from Traverse City who are also interested in propagating Fledges, if you will. So we're doing like the spider plant would do. And that's kind of what I think we've been trying to do from the beginning there. And I think that's biomimicry. And I should also mention something else. In a really technical engineering lab, biomimicry would be figuring out how a cell holds water and then creating a a false membrane or something like that out of chemical in the lab that would mimic how it does that, so that it would be more engineering, more technical than what I'm talking about at a more metaphorical level. So,
I
what do you
also
think?
like something I've been thinking about with 10,000 Fledges that we've been talking about is like mushrooms, and how there's this huge mycelium network underground, and then little mushrooms pop up like from that huge network.
Mhm.
And so we're building that between all of the Fledges, and then different areas will pop up and
Yeah.
be seen.
And all those mushrooms are connected through the mycelium. So
Yeah. And they're in a lot of ways, they're just their nature's toxic cleanup too, right? So as we have toxic relationships, we have toxic behaviors, we have toxic whatever, I do anyways, depend on the Fledge a lot to absorb that toxicity and try to change it into something else. So I don't know if this is all a stretch or not, but it's what I think about when I'm thinking about Fledges and 10,000 Fledges and our model and our diversity and our inclusion. Do like nature does. So guess what? 10 minutes is up already.
Were you gonna say something
Oh, I
else?
have something to say, but it opens Pandora's box. Like, it's literally another conversation. So maybe till next time.
Well, let's open the box and then we can chew on it.
All right, sounds good. So I'm thinking of the lion scenario where I'm not super familiar with this, but from what I understand is that there's a main lion, an alpha lion that doesn't do that much, lays around, kind of maybe gives orders. I don't know, but why don't we where's clearly we're discerning, because we could, if we use biomimicry as a way to justify command and control leadership, how do we discern which to adopt and which not to adopt?
All right. I think that is a big Pandora's box that's definitely worth discussion. And I do think my metaphor might have been a little weak, because lions probably manage things. They take out weak in the herd. They make that herd stronger by doing that. There's Pandora's box flying in our face. We're over time. We'll talk about this again next, or in a future episode, we'll say.
Yes.
So, all right.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you guys. 10,000 Fledges every Saturday at noon, or every-ish at noonish. And we'll see you guys next week or so.
Take care.
See ya.